What were the maybe upcoming challenges that you were trying to preempt when you decided to look for something?
Biggest struggles with the job search was the lack of community, not only
Hmm.
behind me, around me, but with me through the job search. And I know a lot of people struggle with this part, right? So knowing this gap from my previous experiences was the reason I joined IJS.
What were your biggest concerns or hesitations before joining us?
This is the part that's going to sound a bit weird, but I had no hesitations about joining IJS.
Hmm.
Why? Because of three things. First is I'm a research person. I did a lot of research. I dug in and I found some reasons that IJS kind of resonated with me.
Hmm.
And then the second reason here was that I was looking for something not only to grow, but I was looking for something beyond the next job and the next role. And
Hmm.
then the third reason was
Victor, thank you so much for doing the session and welcome to your graduation call.
thank you very much, Shobit, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, Victor, the people watching this, they're really curious to know who is this person that I'm talking to. So just give me like a quick 30-second, 60-second career snapshot.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. My name is Victor Njoroge, and I am proud to say that I'm a PM at Clari, where I own the workflow and actions products. And my products currently are focused on optimizing the sales process from prospecting all the way to deal closure, and then all the multiple steps in between. And that's really what I own within Clari. Let me give you a kind of a quick 30-second snapshot of who I am.
Yeah.
So before this role, I was a PM at ServiceNow, and there I worked within the low code, no code space. And then prior to that, I worked within the hardware space at Dell Technologies, where I have a kind of a deep bench of knowledge across not only multiple industries, but multiple product types and product personas. So that's
Hmm.
me in a quick 30-second nutshell.
Awesome. Now, before we go into like your journey, it seems one of the things you have done is you've not necessarily picked or tied yourself to a domain. You have moved across different domains from hardware to I guess what ServiceNow does, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, how do you think about your journey in that sense?
That's a great question. How do I think about my journey in that sense, in the sense of just having multiple industry kind of
Yeah,
knowledge of multiple industries? So I
yeah.
think of it as additive. So
Hmm.
it adds to the holistic me. So let me explain a little bit. And so it adds to me being able to see how to work at very large scale, like at Dell Technologies, and with multiple global kind of stakeholders. Then at ServiceNow, still large scale, but with an entirely different subset of an industry. And
Hmm.
then now at Clari, I'm working with a very exciting product that's it's like a Series F company, and it's
Hmm.
focused on a very specific persona type, the sales persona. So having that kind of wide ability has enabled me to see things which I think help me be a stronger product manager. So that's how I
Hmm.
see it adding to me.
Yeah. So you see these building up your product management skill sets, and that's what you are, in some sense, specializing in rather than domain knowledge or like a very particular industry focus.
Yes, exactly. I'm like multiple Lego blocks to create a nice little Lego shape. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, cool. Let's talk more about your journey through your job search. So before IPM, intentional job search, what was your job search journey like? What does maybe like a typical week look like, or what had you already done?
So, Shobit, this is the part of the story that's going to be a bit different from other people's.
Hmm.
So, for me, I didn't even give myself the chance to go out in the wild to look for jobs without a
Hmm.
support team behind me.
Hmm.
So, to paraphrase something which people say, I had watched this movie before long ago, and I was not about to watch a sequel of the same old movie, right?
Hmm.
I knew where it was going. So I knew this time I had to do something different, right? So I joined IPM when I had rumblings of an upcoming layoff at my previous
Hmm.
role. And by the time the layoff occurred, right, I had already started my journey at IJS, right? And I was not only had I started my journey, but I was well into defining what my next role would look like and what I needed to do to get there. And most importantly, Shobit, what I needed to do to create the systems that would ultimately lead to my success within IJS. So that's
Mm.
really the part that's a little bit different from other people.
You know what, Victor? I'm going to share a surprising stat with you.
Hmm.
Um, this is now not all data, but I really dug in as I was looking at who's joining us, and I looked at a subset of data, and I actually found that 60% of people who work with us have not begun their job search in
Wow.
earnest.
Wow.
They are just like you, they're saying, why should I go and like struggle and do all those things? Let's just get the right thing in place from like the prepared people. So you're like, you're actually in the majority of the case. And it surprised me. It surprised like everyone who I shared this thing with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's like they cut to the chase, let's get to it quickly, as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love
Exactly.
it. Love it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I know you hadn't begun the job search, but you had like prior experiences. So like what were the maybe upcoming challenges that you were trying to preempt when you decide to look for something?
Great question. So, Shobit, for me, one of the biggest struggles, okay, the movie that I watched before, the biggest struggles with the job search was the lack of community, not only
Hmm.
behind me, around me, but with me through the job search. And I know a lot of people struggle with this part, right? So, knowing this gap from my previous experiences was the reason I joined IJS, and that's why I did my research. So, as soon as I had identified that I would need the support right behind me, I searched for the next role and the opportunity within IJS that would kind of lead me to that win. So that's
Hmm.
really, I understood that challenge, the lack of that strong community that would create a
Hmm.
stronger candidate and
Yeah.
create a better approach and a mindset. And that's what I knew IJS would offer. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you anticipated that struggle. Okay.
Yeah.
So on that, I'm sure you did your research, you looked through programs, and any commitment like IJS is like major commitment in terms of you're going to spend a lot of time there, you're going to spend a major investment there, all those things. What were your biggest concerns or hesitations before joining us?
Again, this is the part that's going to sound a bit weird, but I had no hesitations about joining IJS.
Hmm.
Why? Because of three things. I'll go with the three reasons.
Amazing. Yeah.
So the first is I'm a research person. I did a lot of research. I dug in and I found some reasons that IJS kind of resonate with me, and I'll explain. Right?
Hmm.
And then the second reason here was that I was looking for something not only to grow, but I was looking for something beyond the next job and the next role, right? And
Hmm.
from my research about IJS, I knew that IJS offered this something special. And
Hmm.
then the third reason was I was entirely open and ready for change. So
Hmm.
I'd really reached that point of accepting change. So joining IJS, based on those three reasons, was a perfect trifecta to allow me to begin the journey to that
Yeah.
new approach and then to that
Yeah.
new envisioning of who I knew I could be. That's why that eliminated all doubt.
Love it. And I'm gonna like double click on one aspect.
Mhm.
You mentioned you'd done a lot of research.
Mhm.
Tell us more about what research you did, because I also like tell people who, you know, come to IJS, who book calls with us. It's like, hey, like do your research. It's great. That's a great product management skill set you're going to use. So like, what sort of research had you done?
Yeah, so one, the most obvious was looking at the testimonials.
Hmm.
So looking at what people were saying, but even just looking in their eyes during the testimonial to see, am I bought in on what they're saying?
Hmm.
And then the second was, of course, talking to the team. Those initial calls that I had with the team, kind of scoping out and understanding what do you offer beyond just the job search? Is there something more?
Hmm.
And then just looking at other programs and seeing what they offered, what I was looking for, and where there were hits and misses.
Hmm.
And so the totality of that is what really comprised my research and what really got me to the point of buy-in. And essentially, I didn't have hesitation because I was seeing already very early on, I could see the winning kind of formula with IJS. So that's really the key. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, cool. And it seems you had also spent time in being clear on what you wanted, which
Yes.
is great. Like, independent of intentional product manager, you were like, cool, I want the next job, but I want something that will help me beyond that and like build up my skill sets beyond that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love
And
it. Love it.
yeah.
Okay. Um, so let's talk about, okay, now you're in the program and, first few weeks and you're working it like, what was like the first big aha moment for you?
So the first big aha moment for me was should be I'll kind of boil it down to a single word,
Hmm.
mindset.
Hmm.
That was the first big aha. Then I'll let me drill down, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I think I've had a separate conversation with you some time ago, where I told you that of all the modules within IJS that resonate with me, it's the mindset module that I've watched and rewatched the most,
Hmm.
probably 30 to 40 times. Not all the way completely, but the key sections of it, right?
Yeah.
So why was I watching this module the most, and why, I'll explain why the criticality of this, right?
Hmm.
So I was watching, especially at the beginning of my journey at IJS, where I was fighting that internal resistance, right, to change
Yeah.
to who you know
Hmm.
you want to be, but who you are now, and that gap, the resistance, yeah.
Yeah.
So and why is this module especially important, right? From my perspective, it's the foundation upon which all other modules are built. It's the
Hmm.
module that gave me the tools to approach my practice sessions with my coaches, and then also plan my peer connections, and then set up my attack plan for interviews, iterate, and improve until I finally was able to lock in a dream role, all with an open mind, right? Having
Hmm.
that mindset module kind of set that framework and provide that not only sense of experimentation and openness to failure. Now,
Hmm.
Shobit, I cannot stress this enough. Mindset is the key that unlocks the world for you as a product
Hmm.
manager, as a person, actually.
Hmm.
And that was my first big aha moment.
How would you describe the transformation with the work on mindset? Like, what was Victor 1.0 versus 2.0?
Great question. So Victor 1.0 was, although I directionally knew where I wanted to go, aka
Hmm.
that's what landed me in IGS, but I didn't have a clear picture. I was looking through like a dirty window pane, right?
Hmm.
And that's Victor 1.0. The journey to Victor 2.0 was, and where IJS helped was, now zoom in on the mindset and then other things. The mindset helped not only clarify like the framework with which I would move through to Victor 2.0, but
Yeah.
also we sat through those strategy sessions and you're defining what you want to do, who you want to be, and where you want to go, and that also provided that clarity, right? Started cleaning that window, right? And
Hmm.
then the continual cleaning happened through the practice with the coaches. It happened through the networking with peers. It happened through the day-to-day multiple touch points, for example, behaviorals, product design, product
Hmm.
execution, and then of course just on your own, because there's a lot of on your own work that you have to do. That on my own kind of working through it is what got me from Victor 1.0 to Victor 2.0.
So now let's talk about the other aspects. So, when you think through what were the things that were most useful in the program? I know you've already said mindset,
Mhm.
but if you were to pick out like top three and two and three, and like really take us through your experience of doing all these things as part of the program, like how would you describe it?
So top three of what's the most important in the program.
Yeah. Or
I'll
what
say
was most helpful for you?
number one is the coaching sessions. The
Okay.
coaching sessions are foundational to success, and they were important to me because they help provide, so to speak, a playground for me to stretch myself,
Hmm.
fail in a safe space, fly in a safe space. And it was just a matter of, it was a little bit of dips and ups and downs, but that's really number one, what was most
Hmm.
important. And then number two was actually the network of PMs, talking to multiple people, seeing that one, you're not alone in the struggle.
Hmm.
Two, that you are as good as you think you are, and then three, just being able to commiserate with people, and then have those same people practice. You can practice with them too, and
Hmm.
extend your practice sessions. And then number three, I think I would say, of course, just it's gonna sound weird, but just having IJS, the entire package of all the tools, it's like going to a job site with a tool with tools and without tools.
Hmm.
That's the confidence of going with tools knows that whatever you find, you can deal
Yeah.
with it. Versus if you don't have tools, you're just like stranded and asking for help. That's the difference. That's number three. It's the totality. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And t tell us more. So, like, what sort of tools?
What sort of tools? Okay. Let me zoom in on the exact
Yeah.
tools. So, on a day-to-day basis, of course, I've talked about the coaching sessions. And then on a weekly basis, the group sessions, and I'll zoom in on specific group sessions. It's not just group sessions with you and
Hmm.
to talk about multiple questions that you have as a team, but also group sessions with the mindset coaches.
Yeah.
Uh, there are group sessions with other coaches for specific things like product strategy, product
Hmm.
design, those kinds of group sessions. And then it's going to sound maybe to someone who's not seen it before, but one of the also most critical things is celebrations, weekly celebrations. They are critical. It's called the power of small wins, and I know you leverage that.
Yeah.
You add it's an additive effect to keep you going with that momentum. Not only
Mm.
one to see that you're not alone, but two to celebrate. Hey, even though the week seemed like it went by in a blur, I had these three things I won with, and now my plan for next week is this. So those are the kind of granular tools that allow for success. And I'll even zoom in further during the job search when as a candidate you're looking for jobs, you're networking, and you're looking for
Hmm.
referrals. You're able to at least IGS has the tools where you can ask for a referral internally. And if let's say you're in the process of going through an interview and you need some further help, maybe you have a case study coming up, you have
Yeah.
people you can ask, hey, I need some insight on this, how to approach this. And again, provides the total win for you as a candidate. Yeah.
Seems like for various aspects, there's a lot of support available that helps you navigate, whether it's a case study, whether it's behavioral interviews or product design interviews and whatnot, that ultimately gets you through.
Yes, and I'll tell you the layering of not only the support, having support is important, and then the continual use of that support. You have to use the support that's
Yeah.
there in order to
Yeah.
maximize it.
Yeah.
But then also it plays a psychological role in the fact that when you're out there, you know you're not alone. And it may not sound like much, but it is huge when you know you're not alone. Huge.
Yeah.
It's a difference maker.
I'm part of this other community for like people who are running companies like mine, and like it's all just basically it's based on you're not alone.
Yep.
You have other thought partners, other support partners. That's like the only thing that's there, and still it's very valuable.
Yeah. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
First, I'm going to ask you the story of your big win. Like, tell us about this new role, or your story of landing it, and why did you finally decide to pick this one as like, hey, it fits the core criteria that you had.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. So the story of my new role was that it actually happened, the beginning, the initial contact of my new role happened during the Christmas holidays, or
Hmm.
rather, let's say during the Christmas, that weird Christmas break period where companies are there, not yet not there, right?
Yeah.
So most, you know, job searchers, most candidates, they think this time is where there are no hot leads and no roles. They're
Mm.
assuming that companies have gone, taken off. But I just had systems in place. I executed on those systems, whether it was Christmas time or not. I was just executing on those systems, and
Mm.
that systematized kind of approach is what helped me break through. So I was able to engage with the recruiter at Clari, and after my initial engagement, we went through that long, truly Christmas break where now really companies are not reachable, right?
Mm.
So, and over that Christmas break, it was almost like 3 weeks or so. I did not hear a peep from them, right?
Mm.
And there's a time where most people would doubt themselves. But again, leaning back to the systems, leaning back to the fact that IGS was there, I was all still practicing, right? So when that time finished, the Christmas break finished, when we crossed the new year, I
Mm.
re-engaged with Clary, right? And
Mm.
that's when things really moved fast, right? I went
Yeah.
through several behavioral rounds, and then I submitted a case study even before they asked for it, right? Now, Shobit, the strength of my
How
approach, go ahead.
how did you do that? Like,
Yeah, so great question. So the after the initial recruiter interview, I was scheduled with a hiring manager interview.
Mm,
As soon as that hiring manager interview, I did it. I felt great about it. I was invested in this company. I loved the product just from the
mm,
get-go.
mm,
So I did my research. I looked at customer kind of problems around the market. I went into multiple customer sites and got blurbs from customer kind of feedback on specific features. And I created a problem set saying, hey, based on this customer feedback, this is the problem. And based
mm.
on this problem, this is how we can deal with it. And here's the voice of the customer. And
Yeah.
also basically here are the metrics that we can solve around. And then created some solutions and I put them in Figma. So, and I gave this to the company, and it was what allowed me to stand out significantly. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, so this is super impressive. Were they going to ask you for this, or it was like you were like, cool, I want this. What would truly help you stand out? And you just like sort of anticipated that and did that anyway.
They had some form of case study way after the loops, way at
Ah,
the end after the loops. But the thing about it is that I preempted the case study. I
hmm,
went ahead of the case study because I really loved the product and I saw the potential to be able to not only stand out but also show my passion for the product. And
hmm.
that's really what helped me kind of approach it from early. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. We also have company on this
I
testimonial right
do.
behind you.
Yes, yeah. Yes, let me see.
That's amazing, Victor, because like so many times these case studies you're given them at the end and people see them as a necessary evil. It's like, oh, I gotta go do this now. And same thing, you were like, awesome. Like, what would they actually need? You built your own case study, and like even before they gave you one, you were like, awesome, this is what you really should be doing, and that helped differentiate you.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about then. You mentioned earlier that the program helped you like in build yourself up beyond the job search. Like, talk more about those aspects.
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially how IBM helped me kind of get to the new me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the way I saw it was, and I'll harken back to something you asked about Victor 1.0.
Hmm.
So I kind of had a small inkling of how to approach, let's say, my mindset, right? And how to approach a better systems, put better systems in place. But what IGS really did and how it helped me beyond just the job search was providing better clarity around the tools that I needed to use.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
really thinking of if I'm experiencing, let's say, anxiety in searching for the job, you have the tapping solution. I know you mentioned in one of your, so those kinds of things I would never have come across in
Hmm.
out there in the wild. Maybe it would have taken me forever to come across them. But having that baseline of this is the thing that's most important. The foundation upon which you build your success is really not your your as many is not this application of multiple sending multiple applications. It's
Hmm.
really systems, really
Yeah.
practice, really just thinking of yourself, who you want to be. That's really what IGS provided. Yeah.
Now, for the people who are watching this, like, if you were to describe what intentional job search is, just in your own words, for
Mhm.
somebody who's new to this, how would you describe it?
It's a great question. So again, I'm going to bottom line it, right? IGS is a program that will give you what you put into it.
Hmm.
That's what the bottom line is, right? And what I mean by this, Shobit, is that it's a place where, as I had mentioned earlier, the holistic you can grow if if that's what you want to get out of it. Right?
Yeah.
It provides a structured place to find the growth you need, only from just, a sense of self, but from a sense of like having the coaching perspective that you need, and the topic specific coaching practice. It provides a place for you to have a network of peers you can practice with, you can commiserate, You can just grow together as people and PMs, right? But beyond that, it provides the courses and the guidance on how to approach the multiple complexities of the job search and specifically how to target success. Right? But Shobit, best of all, for me, PM provided a place that I was able to connect and find a very strong central core of my peers. Some of those peers are now have now become my greatest friends, and I plan to collaborate with for the rest of my career. That's really
Hmm.
what IGS offered.
That's awesome. I had already thought of one question that I don't ask everyone I was going to ask you, but you sort of answered that, but feel free to add more, which
Sure.
is how should you show up to get the most out of IJS?
Everybody's different. Everybody shows up differently, but I'll say how I showed up and what
Mm,
led to the formula for success and what I saw people who were successful, how I saw how I saw them showing up. So hopefully somebody can leverage this. Show up open, willing, ready to do the work, and most importantly, just buy into the process. This is a
mm,
tested process. Buy into it, uh, because you landed here for a reason. You saw something, so accept it, buy into it, and then just execute on it. And
mm.
have faith that it is going to pan out if you just execute on it.
Yeah,
That's really what it is. Yeah.
excellent. Thank you. That's very helpful. I thought of that question even before we did this call because I'm like, you clearly showed up as like sort of one of our ideal students.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, cool. I want to share this for like anybody who's considering joining
Yeah.
the program, but also like to people like in the program on, hey, this is how you show up to really succeed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any last words, any last messages for anybody considering the program?
Yes, absolutely. So I want to share with those of you who are beginning your journey and for those of you currently fighting through your journey right now, right, fighting for that win. And this is something that resonates with me. So, and a question I ask myself,
Hmm.
who and what you or I become in the process is way more important than the dream that you have in your mind. Right?
Hmm.
You have to ask yourself on a daily, hourly, minute by minute, monthly basis as a man sometimes, you know, kind of grind through. Ask yourself, what kind of person do you want to be? And then show it. My thing to people is fight like hell to get to be that person. Do not stop. Do not give up. Do not falter. And most importantly, do not doubt yourself. And
Hmm.
my most important thing is here. I know that I had it in me, so I know you have it in you. And I'll say, just go get it.
Love it. Thank you so much, Victor, for sharing your awesome journey, for all your successes, and just for being a great inspiration for all of us coaches and like so many people in the community. They constantly call you out as being an inspiration.
Happy to. Happy to. Anytime. Yeah, anytime. And thank you too for you, what you've provided, what you've built. It's an amazing program here. So thank you.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to be one of our next success stories, make sure you book a call with us. I've left a QR code for you to scan. Go to our apply page, book time with us, and chat about your career and your journey to your dream product management role.